Hey, welcome. Boom. Boom. Welcome. We are live. This is Tokyo tonight. It's 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time, Sunday evening, and we have a new look. I have just been actually this evening, just before the show, I have been setting up StreamYard, which that is not really necessary. I've been setting up StreamYard. I actually paid for a subscription for this. I really do like the look. When I do it for 2.5 years, I used to stream with Victor. I can see all the like ability to put your own brand and logo and stuff on it are locked, but it looks really good and it's really easy to set up. And I really felt like things like when I was in America, for example, that I really wished I could have had the same software and the same setup. So the fact that this is cloud, it's like $20 a month, and I paid for a year like to save like 60 bucks or whatever. So I figure I'm going to use it properly, but it is expensive. It is expensive. And I've come this close to doing it multiple times, but particularly doing the last live show with Victor and realizing we're going to do that regularly, and just loving the way that the shows like comments and stuff like that. Um, it looks really, really nice. And I've never been able to get it quite working perfect on the free software. In fact, is it free? I don't know. The software that I'm using, Streamlabs OBS. So yeah, I like this look. So I've just been playing around with this just before the live stream, but yeah, it's nice to have it here. I don't know how high resolution it's showing the capture of the screen here, which of course I'm using to control what we talk. But I think this looks good. Anyway, I can still play with it some more. I'm definitely going to learn some more, and I might just put some more overlays and stuff. Although this is pretty good, right? The one thing is, it doesn't. Of course, while I can't put the whole chat onto the screen like I always do, what I can do that I think is actually better is I can actually show every complete comment without it getting cut off one at a time. And I think I'll probably do that. Although, of course, on the side here, I do actually still have the regular comment display. So if you say my name, it'll flash up orange over here, and I will notice it that way if I remember to look sideways over here, I guess, which I now realize normally I'm looking like towards the comments because they're normally over there, but now there's nothing there. So I'm looking into empty space, which is a little bit weird. But anyway, I can still check if there are comments there or not. In fact, perhaps I'll just pop this out, because I am still, of course, figuring this out. In fact, maybe, yeah, I can put this. Oh, now I see the problem with that it's actually got a plugin working for that. So I don't want to do that. Okay, let's get rid of that and go back to the regular display. So yeah, working out some of the bugs, but still, it's pretty cool. How y'all doing? It was really cool to have 2.5 Oyajis back last week. It is pretty easy to set up with Victor. Victor's, of course, as I am as well. We're all just busy with life. I'd love to get back. So many people saying that they were happy to see us back together. We're happy to be back together. And, if we were able to do that like every week, like before, it did get too much for me. And I think even, like for him doing, like for me doing Saturday and Sunday, I like this routine of joining you all at the same time every Sunday evening, my time, and during the day on Sunday for all of you. It's great to see so many people rocking in. Test Hiko Simon Test says Sergeant Bilko. So yeah, I can. Oh, there we go. I can see it there. So wow, let's go check out who's rocking in the comments. If you are watching, say hello. I mean, that's to me like the whole point of this is to do this. So Cobras Tenshi, because I was first, where I said I'm just setting up the new setup with StreamYard. What do you think? Do you like the setup? I guess it's too late to vote on it. I've already paid for it. But tell me if you prefer the old one, or even if you know how to use StreamYard. I would like to be able to get it into a really nice setup, but I like that the default is actually pretty good. Who else we got in here? We have Cobra. So we've had Cobras Tenshi with the cookies all set to go. Of course, got Sergeant Bilko. Music. Yes, Sergeant Bilko. I knew you'd be interested in the music. I've had like a big music. In fact, actually, even just before the show, I got really distracted. I had kind of like I've had a really interesting experience today, which I kind of want to like just share. I always like obviously can talk about lots of things. That's the thing. I've had a really like intense couple of weeks, like this last week and so on. And just busy doing some sort of heavy stuff with work and so on. And so I haven't actually been that active on Twitter, even though I've skipped the show for 2 weeks. There isn't actually a lot of topics here and stuff like the really big news. To tell the truth, I haven't been like watching NHK news and being like as deep as I normally am. So I can only really talk superficially on a lot of the news topics. But however, I had a really just good day today, which I want to talk about this because I sort of went kind of deep, remembering like my sort of music background and how, I used to do live stuff on the show. And it made me remember a lot of things, and it made me go digging around a bit today. And I had on a scale similar to the mind blow that I had when I discovered ChatGPT could help me like code like some really cool apps, and it's actually again I'm looking forward to when I can share that. It's a lot of it's work related, but when I realized that, oh, this can actually be a tool that can allow me to do things I couldn't do before. It can allow me to build like complete AI apps and stuff like that, which is something that I've been doing. Um, I've had a similar sort of a epiphany today around music, which I want to share, and I want to figure out a way to get it worked into the show. Actually, in fact, I was just playing around just before this, and I'm not sure about how with this if I can get even the iPad on. I mean, even doing the Korg stuff would be cool to get back into that. So I'm thinking about that as well. So yeah, Sergeant Bilko, the Sergeant Bilko from Sweden. We are going to definitely talk about music today. Softy Papa, such a legend. I'm loving following your life on Facebook and so on. Great to see your daughter. Like, wow, like she's like a shakaijin now. She's off in Japan, and you're not quite in Japan yet, right? But I know that you're setting up to come over here, which makes so much sense at the moment. Like, Japan's becoming one of those sort of affordable Asian, like, island countries where you go to retire for cheap. I mean, that's probably how it is from the US, because I certainly know how it felt the other way around. Um, I know that wasn't necessarily the plan or the intention. It's just the way that it's worked out. But Softy Papa, as you all know, man, I had such a cool time hanging out with you, Softy Papa, in Los Angeles. You took such good care of me. Took me to Huntington Beach. Took me surfing. We had some really cool conversations and stuff. And he's a really, really cool guy. So I don't know. You should follow him anyway. He's a bit of a rock star. And great to have you coming to Japan and everything else going on. We've got Dan H, of course. Great as always to have you here in the comments. Thanks for joining. And again, Dan H is always really good at coming up with topic ideas and so on as well, including topic ideas I don't know about. So I really, really enjoy your participation. We've got Is This My Life? Hi from Sweden, second person from Sweden in the chat today. I should learn how to say hello in Swedish, shouldn't I? But I don't know. So I'm just going to say hello, because honestly, most Swedish people I've met actually speak English better than English people that I've met, which, yeah, is impressive. I think the education system, it must be good. Joni, a man from Finland. Uh, the Scandinavians are in the house. Excellent to see you, sir. Coffee hotpot. Squirrels said, yeah. Butter boom, butter stocked and boom. I also have the butter here. I bring the butter. That's what I do. I'm never gonna have a shortage ever again. Yeah, many thanks for that. Very good resolution. Okay, I'm glad it's looking good. It looks a little bit reduced resolution for me because I'm looking at like the control panel screen of this. So I'm glad, especially if the capture window is looking sharp. I have to move it every now and then just so that the screen cap doesn't die, particularly when I'm doing this. Aaron, our moderator is here, and it is wonderful to have you as always, Aaron, and great to see you. Good morning to you. Happy Sunday morning. Shubhas, our man from Panama. Good to see you. I hope you're enjoying a nice cup of coffee there. Test is definitely working, although, yeah, as you can see, it's not highlighting on the screen, but I can see it on the screen on the side over here. So I'll occasionally look like it looks into nowhere, but it's actually a screen here all set up, so I will check that. Shubhas indeed. How is that coffee? It's always good coffee in Panama. How is Panama actually? Because Panama's been having that drama. I haven't been able to keep up with what's been happening with all the blockades and stuff. I hope that that's improved for you. And I hope you're having good coffee. You know what? Now I realize whenever I see Tadam, I think Tadam, I think of Netflix. It's like the Netflix logo sound. Hey yo, good to see you indeed. As long as Hopi's in the background, it's all cool. Hopi is always in the background because I am a hopeful person. That's my nature. Good to see you. Good to see you, PB. Just refilled the cuppa. I must admit, it's easy to jump to which comments to highlight when I can see the my name being highlighted. I like to see my name, I suppose. But hell, I like highlighting all the comments. I wish I could do it with the keyboard. I wish I could go up and down. Wait a minute. Can I? No, I can't. I've got to click. That's a little bit annoying. I wish I could just go next, and show up on the screen. Is what it is. Eater, good to see you as always. Of course, you are a legend. Softy Papa, good to have you in here. Unrested has moved to America. Yeah, I saw something like that on Facebook. Good for him. It looks like I haven't actually. I met Unrested in Osaka. We even collabed back in the day. He illustrated a diarrhea story that I had. It's on my channel somewhere. He did all the illustrations for that. He's a legend. It looks like he's got a really great setup in America. I've met his wife, who is lovely. I don't know if he's put her on camera or anything like that, but yeah, he looks like he's got a great family, and congrats to him on probably going back to America. So indeed, I did notice that. I haven't really seen him online much lately, but yeah, it was really cool following his journey when he was coming into Japan and adjusting to everything here. Kerber's Tenchi's got a comment there. User might not have been aware of. All Ospreys have been grounded for now. I did hear that, although that's something I want to talk about today because the way that played out was a little bit controversial with the Ospreys. For people who don't know, the V-22 or VS-22 or something Osprey, it's mainly used by the Marine Corps, and I thought this was a Marine aircraft, but actually it turns out it was an Air Force Osprey. Fascinating, really cool, fascinating aircraft that unfortunately has a slight association with crashing a lot. So much so I like to kind of jokingly call it Crashy McCrash plane. It hasn't really crashed that much lately, but when it was in testing, it was sort of notorious for being unstable a little bit and crashing. But there was an Osprey crash, which they've had a relatively good run of no bad news lately. There's been a big there's a lot of tension over having these Ospreys in Okinawa because they had a famous helicopter accident back in the 90s where a Black Hawk, I think it was, crashed into a school and killed like a lot of the kids. There's a lot of people in Okinawa that are already, of course, not happy about the bases down there, let alone when you have a base in the middle of a really densely populated urban area and a helicopter coming in like has an accident and crashes into a school and kills kids. That's kind of the root origin of well, some people say that some Okinawans are just receiving money from China and they're just anti-American about everything. No, there's a legitimate there's a legit history there that the sort of reckless flying that America did basically because they owned Okinawa for so long. When they brought in a plane so notorious for crashing into an area that was so sensitive about crashes, into the Marine base in Futenma in particular, which is right beside where this accident was. And they brought basically Crashy McCrash plane, the plane that wouldn't stop crashing and was even bigger than the Black Hawk helicopter. Yeah, this is what caused a lot of protesters to pay a lot of attention to these and lobby to not have them. So the fact that this crash happened, it happened out at sea. But when it happened, the Japanese government, knowing the sensitivity of this, said to the American Air Force, please, American armed forces, please just ground all the Ospreys until we know the cause, the cause of the crash. And the Air Force said, yeah, well, we're just going to use the Ospreys for the search and rescue operation. So they not only ignored it, but they actually used the planes that caused the crash and terrified everybody that they were asked to stop flying. They said, we're going to use those for the search and rescue. And when they found the plane and they did an analysis, which apparently showed that there was like a engine malfunction or something, then they grounded the whole fleet. But kind of bearing out the point that they should have grounded it like the Japanese government asked immediately after it kind of shows the disregard that they have for the sort of not just the feelings, but frankly, the safety concerns of the Japanese, not just like Okinawan protesters, base protesters either. This was the national government of Japan was asking for this because they were worried about the backlash. So yeah, they did finally ground all the Ospreys, but they arguably should have done it when they were asked, not waited. Unfortunately, I think there were 8 crew on board and they all died, unfortunately. For what it's worth, I mean, look, I grew up military family. I'm not anti-military, and I grew up like enjoying like that sort of equipment and stuff. And they're amazing things. Those planes, the tilt rotor, they look like a sort of a helicopter that can hover with the rotors pointing straight up, but in midair, like that, they like go horizontal, and these things can fly fast like a plane. And they were basically invented out of the whole crisis that they had about trying to figure out how to rescue hostages from the U.S. embassy in Iran in like 1978. And they had a plan to try to evacuate all the hostages out of a sports stadium, and they needed basically craft that could fly fast a long distance and land, which were too far for helicopters, which crashed in the desert. And the rescue that they had, and be able to land inside a stadium and take off like on a running track inside a stadium. So again, not enough for an airplane. And this was the solution that they came up with. And it took like 20 years to be able to develop computer systems that could actually fly these things. But, like at a crosswind or a stiff breeze, they've got a habit of crashing. And apparently now the software has gotten good enough that they've gotten relatively safe, but a lot of people don't trust them. So yeah, the Ospreys have been a big deal. That's one of the topics I had tonight. And the second one, from Kerber's Tenchi, Beetlejuice. I used to call it Beetlegeese, but I think it's Beetlejuice, right? That star, yeah, it's been really variable lately. It's kind of crazy. It's a huge super giant, like red giant, but it's also variable. It gets super bright and super dim. And apparently, yeah, it's going to. And people are speculating now its cycle of getting dim and bright has been so intense lately. Like it might be really close to a supernova. And it's, I believe, I don't know how many light years it is from Earth, but it's sort of close enough that a supernova from a star like Betelgeuse might actually even have an impact like that we would notice here. It would be like a massive like gamma ray sort of Although I guess it is a super giant. It's a red giant, so they don't actually supernova, do they? They actually turn into white dwarfs. Astronomy nerd. I did this for a long time. I'm not Dr. Becky, who I follow. If you want like astronomy news, as I'm sure there's PBS, but I also follow Dr. Becky, and she is amazing. She talks about all of this stuff. I'm sure that's who Kerberos Tenchi was following. Well, those are like two major squirrels that you've thrown at me. One of them was a topic I was going to cover anyway, but thank you for that, Kerberos Tenchi. You've done a really good job. We are already 15 minutes in, and I'm still saying hello. So, yes, indeed. We've got hi is it hedge or hey? I read it like J could be like a Y. Is that hey or hedge? How should I pronounce it? Is like I press a hedge like a hedge or hey? That's kind of funny. I want to know this now. Hedge. I've, this is the problem with English is that we just take straightforward written words and just mangle them, even when it's obvious how you should pronounce them, to the result that you can't like trust how to pronounce anything in English. It's a horrible language. Someone got upset with me on Twitter the other week when I actually said that I like to make fun of English. I do think it's a well, it does have this lingua franca status. It is horrible for people to learn as a second language because it's got so much sort of half-baked integrations with other languages, and the grammar is so all over the place. Yeah, I think you have to be aware that it's a tough language to learn. But someone said I was being completely wrong about English. English is the easiest language in the world. Said a person who was, of course, a native English speaker. But there you go. Hala. Again, I don't know how to say with the A on top. How does that go? I just say hala. Well, hala, which is kind of again sounds cool, but I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. Okay, hala or hedge. So I'm gonna look this up actually. It'd be cool if I could say these in different languages. Just a thing. Believe in yourself. Great to see you there. Great as always. Who else we got? Vincent Birch, our man from New Zealand. Good to see you in there. It seems Apple Music hates the dance exponents, New Zealand band. Can I get something beginning with C? You strike me as a Spotify bloke. What can we get there? I don't use Spotify. It didn't come out to Japan for a long time, so I use Apple Music, which is good because actually what I really want to show all of you folks, the app which I was just playing with just now, I love this so much. This is exploding my mind. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's called, it's from Algoriddim. It's just called like a DJay Pro with AI Neural. And I'll get to it. I'll get to this. I'll get to talking about music. I don't think it works with Spotify, by the way. It works with Beatport and Apple Music, but fortunately, all my stuff is on Apple Music, so I believe I can use my whole music library with this. And I had a brain explosion today over this app. In fact, I was dancing in a coin laundry today. And you know what? I could even like queue it up and show you what I did and how it was incredible. But I don't know how to quite hook this up. Yeah, I'll get to the music part because I'm looking forward to sharing that. But let's keep going. Damn, this is the thing. I'm going to end up sharing every single comment like this because I don't know which ones to skip. That's the problem with this interface. I'm going to have to figure out. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to look sideways, so I'm not highlighting every single comment because otherwise I'll never keep up. So I am going to look sideways over here. I'm going to try to identify when there's a new commenter or when you've said my name, and I will see orange on the screen over here, and I will highlight the comments that have said my name, and hence that's your way of telling me that you either want me to read the comment or you've got a request or whatever. You just want to say hi, and I may skip over you if you don't do that because, again, there's lots of comments, which is the way I want it to be. It's great to see everybody rocking in here. Great to see so many people here, actually. So, for example, I see now, what's this? It seems like your messages aren't being sent. I think YouTube is shadow blocking some words such as squirrel, says Dan H. Are they really not posting? Maybe you're just looking at top chat or something like that. I don't know what's happening with that. But yes, RIP crashing the crash plane. Okay, I do have to show the comments because you all make awesome comments. So what can we do? Kerberos Tenchi, great. So yes, they had a plan for the success of the V280 Valor, but military is defiant. X from Boeing. Oh, this is a successor to the Osprey. I guess they're already making that. I think it's a really cool plane, even though it is crashing the crash plane. And it is RIP. They probably need to replace it, but it's like super futuristic to me anyway. I mean, I grew up New Zealand Army. If there's any military nerds here, New Zealand Army was basically like in the 80s when I was growing up as a kid, was using all Korea and Vietnam War surplus. The New Zealand Army used A4 Skyhawks, which we contributed to the Gulf War. They were literally only existed in museums in the world, and they actually got some results. They were very modernized, but we had A4 Skyhawks, which we don't have anymore. and we had Iroquois, Huey Iroquois helicopters, which again are the classic Vietnam sort of helicopters. I grew up with those everywhere around me, and M113 tanks, which are still being used, I guess. But yeah. So I grew basically like that in a military museum. So to me, these things are new. Sadiq, great to see you, Sadiq, and hope you're doing well. Our man from Florida, from Turkey, good to see you there in the chat, and good to have you in here as always. Oh wow, okay, we're getting some correction. Hey is like, hey, I thought I said that. I said hedge. I bet you it's hey, but there again, maybe it means hedge, and maybe I'm mangling it. Hey, okay, well, you know what? That's great. I can say what hey, I guess we say in English as well, so that does make it easier. Uh, oh, so hello is hella, but the sounds like oat. So it literally is hello. Hello. It's a hello. Hello, hello. Yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, my UK heritage is from York, which was a Viking colony, and you can totally see how like Scandinavian is like all over the place in English. According to 23andMe, I have like 10% Norwegian DNA, which yes, while I'd like to think that there was probably some good-looking exchange students, no, we know what the Norwegians were doing when they were visiting England. But yeah, that's a bit of history. DJ Sunnyside App, excellent to see you. Of course, as always, much love from Corchi. Good to have you in here from Corchi. And finally, let's get into the topics. It's 10:51. And I want to talk about the music thing, actually, because that's like the main thing I've been like G'd up for today. And I really do want to figure out how to get the music back into it. Sergeant Bilko, I think we can add. Oh, wait. I'm highlighting on the wrong screen. I'm still going to get used to this. You think I can be honorary Swedish now because I know the two most useful words, hey and hello and hello. Yeah, it feels like English. Wow. Food prices have gone up in Japan this year. How much have they gone up? Because they've gone up, I guess, in Sweden, 40%. They've gone up, but they've gone up like 3%, and everyone's losing their minds here. But the yen's gone down in value by 50%. So if you're visiting here from outside of Japan, everything's just sort of gotten insanely cheaper. But like the amounts here people are talking about are like 3%, 2%, 4%, and people are losing their minds in America. Like ramen was like bad ramen was like 5,000 yen. Here it like goes from 800 yen to 820 yen, and people are declaring it's like the end of the world, and it's like the best ramen you can get anywhere. So I think you'll find food prices are probably they haven't gone up anything like 40%. They're still pretty good. Although there are some things like, for example, wheat, bread and stuff like that. The prices have gone up because they're impacted by the war in Ukraine. But what can we do? Vincent Birch, in NZ in the 90s, they tried telling us we couldn't take chili bins for a buck to watch the cricket. By piss, of course, you mean alcohol for those people who don't understand New Zealand vernacular. So we tried to take melon heavily injected with vodka. Oh man, New Zealand's binge drinking culture is not good, and it's an aspect of New Zealand I don't miss, but I do respect the attempts at that. Man, I had some great. I'd always, for me, my big thing in the 90s was going to Australia, where my mum lives, and supporting New Zealand cricket teams playing over there against Australia and getting smashed by Australia, of course. But it was always kind of fun. The goal was just to get on TV, and I did. I think I got on TV in an international in Brisbane between South Africa and New Zealand. Yeah, just by being louts with too much piss. Good times. David Dentetsu, good to see you. And Ian Macaulay in Ohio, indeed. Wow, people still walking in. Such a great turnout tonight. I'm so happy to see all of you guys. And I do really appreciate, actually, all you guys rocking in. That said, let's actually dive into the topics because it's 10:53. And yeah. So, but the good news is, I honestly, I have barely been able to keep up with the news this week. Yeah, this is the thing. Doing it in the sequence, some of it's backwards. Right now, there is a massive scandal happening in the LDP. I don't know if I can do it justice, and I feel people like Dan H maybe in the comments can add to this and do it better justice. But what's happened is basically it's always happened that with political fundraising in Japan, each party declares how much funds they received, and of course there are limits on how much they can fundraise and whatever. And it always turns out that the Japan Communist Party receives the highest donations of any political party, more than the LDP. And they point out that that's because they are the political party which most rigorously audits and makes transparent all of their funding, because they have things like, communist newsletters and I don't know, sing-alongs and stuff like that, where yeah, they're totally transparent. They say they really want every other party, including the LDP, to be as transparent as they are. And of course, what happens with the LDP is they've always been known for, there's the amount of funding, political fundraising that they declared, and there's all of that sort of hey, how's it going, be my friend money that they get from supporters and people who want things and so on. And the murky world of accounting. When I talk about I've talked about Keiko Obuchi, who had to resign because when police tax investigators were like coming for her computers to find that her staff had been like illegally excessively fundraising and pocketing money from that she actually helped them use power drills to destroy the hard disks to make sure that they couldn't find the accounting information that would show that she had illegally gathered political funds, and she had to resign as a result. There's so many scandals like this. So on the one hand, political fundraising scandals in the LDP are like they're practically expected. But what's happened in the last week is there's been like, it's kind of the last couple of weeks, I guess, there's been this huge scandal where it's come up that, of course, they have these big parties where they invite supporters to come, and these supporters, of course, they get a chance to actually directly support. And this is a thing, particularly for Abe. He would have these, people would say, oh, they're a Yakuza, they're like dodgy people who are coming here, and they're paying a lot to join these parties, where these parties, the money is supposed to be collected by the secretaries of the politician who's speaking or the faction that's presenting it. And it's supposed to be party political donations, which are under the limits, of course, of what they can collect. But what happens in practice is, while the official fee is like $30 to join, the unofficial fee to get on the list to join the party, whatever, they find these sort of workarounds where they get everybody to pay like $3,000, and they declare that they only collected $30 per person, and the other money gets put into a slush fund, which the party uses at best for additional fundraising, like renting sound vans and making signs and stuff like that, and at worst goes directly actually into the pockets of the politicians, which is basically illegally raised money, which they directly sort of embezzle and use freely. And what's happened is, Abe, in particular, when he was prime minister, in the LDP, they have these factions, these teams who sort of like are these groups within the LDP, because the LDP is always the government. There are these teams of people who basically vie for influence. They try to lobby to get more members from their team, from their faction, into the cabinet, so on, or to get prime minister, so the prime minister can nominate the other positions. And there's this thing that within the party, in order to get the whole party to pull together, they sort of have to compromise and figure out which factions get how many seats and whatever, and based partly on size, but also on influence. So when Abe was prime minister, of course, he had a faction which was the biggest faction, and everyone gravitated toward it. And because, of course, it was the most powerful faction, the fundraising that they did was sort of notorious, that they would do all of this. Like they lost the list of guests for like private parties that were suspected of excessive fundraising that Abe directly, while prime minister, was doing. So there's a lot of talk that Abe might have been brought down directly over a fundraising scandal, but it turned out, he somehow got through it all, resigned, and then later on was, of course, assassinated. But his faction members who have been doing these huge fundraising parties, they've had two things. Since Abe died, they haven't replaced the leader of the faction. So right now that faction is like massive, but it doesn't have like a single unified sort of voice. They're still fighting because it's such a powerful faction. They've been sort of fighting over who gets to be the lead of it, because they're going to have so much clout in government. And Kishida is not from the Abe faction. But in the meantime, someone's kind of found out that they've continued doing these like crazy excessive fundraising, and there's like been evidence that's been turned over, sort of showing that these people not only excessively illegally fundraised, but directly pocketed the money, and been like people who are in cabinet have been directly stealing excessively raised political funds. So like stuff which could lead to like criminal prosecutions. And yeah, the result of that is actually today, 5 members of every single member in cabinet from the Abe faction, which is the most powerful faction that you have to keep happy by giving lots of cabinet positions. Today, the prime minister said all of them are fired because all of them are under suspicion, or there's reasonable evidence already to say that they have stolen funds. The fact that it's already being described as mold basically means that they're already dead. So they've been fired like en masse, all of these people. They've been sort of purged from the government. My comment to this was that I don't think Kishida is a huge deal, but I don't think Kishida is going to get any more popular for addressing this because it just looks like the LDP being corrupt, and Kishida having five again grubby people probably about to face criminal prosecution being put into being selected for cabinet by Kishida. Like either he's responsible because he did it, which isn't the case, or he's responsible because he was in charge when it happened, which is the case. So yeah, it's really going to cause his popularity to collapse. So in the meantime, it's kind of funny. For the last 20 years, every time there's been a leader election, there's been this guy, Shigeru Ishiba. I've mentioned him before, Ishiba Shigeru, if you put the surname first. He's always been perennially kind of generally popular with the grassroots of the LDP, and he's in like a kind of a third-rate sort of a faction, and he's in charge of it. And in every single leadership election, he's always come second. He never comes first because basically in the second round, he doesn't have the political swing. He doesn't have the clout behind him. And he's always sort of tried to position himself. He wanted to be prime minister after Abe. He was the biggest rival to Abe as leader within the LDP. So the fact that the Abe faction right now doesn't have a leader and it looks like they're all about to go to jail and be fired, he went on TV and said, yeah, I think the police should really look closely at this if there's any problems, which is his own party, by the way, but these are competing factions within. So I like to sort of joke that he's the man who is perennially coming second at the second place to become prime minister and never actually becomes it. But he does, he is actually quite a shrewd politician. He's a smart guy. But when you see that apparently this, he does little cosplay things and stuff like this occasionally. And I don't know, I guess you give him credit for being a good sport, but he does come off a little bit goofy. And again, it's really hard to see that he's ever going to get through, but it's kind of funny because he is throwing them under the bus. So LDP, wow, Yoni, you put it perfectly. I like to say there ain't no party like a communist party, but yeah, LDP definitely knows how to party. I guess that's right. If you've come to party, that's where you go. Um, you don't vote in New Zealand elections as you don't know enough. Actually, I don't know enough about New Zealand either, but I voted in the last one. First time I voted in 20 years. Just because I was just pissed off with a few things about Labour, although I don't like the way that it worked out actually either. So yeah, I don't like that New Zealand first. I don't like that Winston's deputy prime minister and is in charge of foreign affairs. Like, yeah, how can you put a racist in charge of foreign affairs? But so I don't know. I don't like any of them. But you're right. I also don't feel like I know enough. But I did vote just because I felt like I was missing out. But yeah, so anyway, that's that. The other huge story of the day that everyone's watching, and again, all I know is the headlines. Shohei Ohtani got offered $700 million by the Dodgers, so I guess he's going to stay in LA if you count Anaheim as LA. I don't know if it is or not. There was a lot of jokes. I love the Onion line about how their fake article about Shohei Ohtani saying that Angel star Shohei Ohtani, wonder kid from Japan, uh, tells press that he regrets not researching before coming to America which teams are good and joining the Angels. But it looks like he's going to the other team in LA that is supposedly a little bit better. I'm not a baseball expert in America, but at $700 million, he's going to be paid like one of the top paid players in the world. What was funny was that there was an article also that Jesse Johnson was showing yesterday. I was talking about how America had him like 60% going to the Toronto Blue Jays because they were offering like 710 million and the Dodgers were only offering 700 million. So he would go probably where the money is. And some Japanese commentator would say, "Oh, these American commentators, they don't understand Japanese. Japanese don't just choose by the money. There are much more important things than that." To which, I and probably everybody else thought that, well, honestly, once the money is like between 700 million and 710 million, it's kind of hard to comprehend the difference anyway, frankly. But I don't know if you wave $700 million. The fact that he's injured, like he's of course an all-star pitcher and hitter, and he's like this incredible talent. But he's got an injured shoulder and he can't pitch for like half of the next season, and they're still throwing 700 million for a 10-year contract. It is amazing. It's been amazing watching Shohei since he was like playing in high school, and there was talk about him going straight from like high school to America. He was getting scouted, and he was convinced to stay in Japan and play for Nippon Ham, where of course he devastated. But he didn't do what Ichiro did. Instead, waited till he was like 30. He went over when he was still young. I think it's been really cool. It's kind of like watching the hometown kid, since he's had all this media attention in Japan, come good. So everyone enjoys that. The Mighty Ducks, indeed. Orange County, very close to Huntington Beach. I didn't know that. Thank you for the geography lesson, Softy Papa. Man, I loved Huntington Beach so much. Yeah, no, I really, really appreciate how you took care of me there, Kurt. That was really, really awesome. So anyway, that's another thing. So Japanese government collapsing, or at least the Abe faction is. A lot of money for Shohei. Someone very happy with the robot. I felt this way when I got had a robot make me coffee in Seattle. You know, although I still had to tip it in America. Geez, America, please stop with the tipping. Oh yeah, I created a new channel. I noticed that Rich Freeman, this person is the go-to person for rugby. I'm sure I've actually probably met him because I used to go play rugby and even play for YCAC, the Yokohama Country Club, back in the day when I was playing rugby. And I think he plays down there and he's associated with the club down there. So he said he's taking a break. He's like a TV commentator for rugby and is like a columnist and the absolute guru on Japanese rugby. I am not, but I decided because there are so many awesome players coming down to or coming up to Japan for the post World Cup year. The tournament here is like a global All Stars tournament, and I'm very excited about it. So I've been watching all the rugby games and kind of putting up my comments on a separate. I didn't want to flood my regular channel with my rugby stuff. So by the way, that's a photo from when I used to play rugby, team photo. Uh, I don't know, how does that work? Screen cap that. Uh, but yeah, I've created a different Twitter profile where I can put in stuff because I'm also studying to become a referee again because I'd really like to be able to get back into that. I used to referee Japanese University rugby. I was sort of getting there. So anyway, I've set that up, and yeah, I hope to be a barely adequate substitute for Rich Freeman because that person is a legend. Quick look at the comments. Sainted Sir. Boom, good to see you in the chat. It's a chilly 9:05 a.m. in NYC. How chilly is it? It was like it's December here, and it was like 20 degrees today or something. It was so nice. I've been so flustered running around today, partly setting this up, the music stuff, which I'm going to get to. I'm going to talk about. But I was also going to. Oh God, I've dropped the thought. I was going to do something else that I didn't get around to. Anyway, oh God, I've dropped the thought. I've had a million things going on at once today. But yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It was so hot. That's right. So it was so hot and lovely. And I went out for a run today. I ran like 11.5 kilometers. It's kind of funny because I had a fever the other week and I stopped exercising for a week. And even for a week, your fitness just drops. But my shoulder's been feeling really good lately. It's been getting like the rehab's been really working. I reckon another month. I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to take a risk with it, but I feel like I can get back into kickboxing soon. And I'm running and it's feeling really good. And I don't know, today was just like the weather was so perfect. I went out, I did take the camera out. So I want to go and record. You'll see if you follow my Instagram, I post my photos and my little video clips from that. I'm going to post that later on. I also have an idea for the music thing, which I'll come back to, of getting all my running clips and using that as like VJ images and putting some mixes online. But I'll get to that later on. But anyway, I'm going to put some stuff up from that later. But how cold is it in New York anyway? Because it was lovely and warm here today. Seriously, it's like summer in New Zealand here, and it's mid-December in Tokyo. It's lovely, but I guess it's a sign that the world's about to end. But yeah, 1 degree Celsius in Indiana. Holy crap. Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine. All I can think of with Indiana is movies like Smokey and the Bandit, like where they go through Indiana and they show the culture of those sort of in the 1970s, of course. So I guess it's 50 years old now, but I have trouble even imagining. But yeah, your winters must be intense there. Do stay warm there, Aaron. Yeah. What's happening with DJ Sunny Side Up? Here we go. You interviewed one of your artists that you produce for. That's pretty cool. First interview. Is that on your channel? The interview? I've got to look up my subscriptions, but if you've done that, I'd love to hear that. I've got some of you like you put up beats and got people to rap over them. Is it one of those people that you produce, or this is actually like you've been doing that? Okay, so everybody go check out DJ Sunny Side Up's channel. Anyway, I do enjoy a good podcast for that. Not that chilly, 56 Fahrenheit, which because I lived in America, I can now realize is about 10 degrees Celsius. So there you go. Not too bad, but still. Whoa, Indiana boy, damn. Indiana's represented. Well, we got like Scandinavia and Indiana strongly represented. Good to see. Oh yeah, this is the predictions and so on, talking about Ohtani and the huge amount of money, like in yen, 1,080 million, 80, 100 million yen. Yeah, what would you do with that? The yen, by the way, for people who while I keep saying that the yen is like incredibly cheap and come here while it's cheap, it has gotten more expensive. That drop represents a dollar buying less yen. It's gone from like 150 to 144. I don't know what triggered that. I don't know if there was an intervention or something that actually the government went and bought lots of dollars or something to try to do that. But it's been, yeah, a really noticeable like plunge you can see there, which is, I suppose, bad if you're coming to Japan, but it's good if I want to ever go outside of Japan and have anything like close to a normal ability to like live or do things outside of Japan. It really should be like maximum 120 in my personal estimation based on cost of living. So it still is way out of whack, and it's still cheap to come here. But maybe you should hurry up and come here if you're not, because it may get less affordable over time. Yeah, it's good to see DJay Sunny Side Up. The stuff there is on the channel. Question from Cobras Tenchi. Any advice on what you should put into an introduction video? You want to apply to Enterprise, a talent agency in Japan, hoping that they sign you up as a voice actor. So this would be an intro video for the talent agency to assess you, or an intro video that the talent agency would use to show you, to profile you to people who'd be interested. I do not know. Anyone in the chat, if you can help out Cobras Tenchi, please jump in there. Yeah, if you're talking about a general intro video for a YouTube channel, I have ideas on that. But at the same time, there's so much great advice on about this stuff at the moment. And all my advice is now like 15 years out of date. Like there are like 12-year-olds who like just like jump on YouTube and immediately make like professional quality content because they watched a tutorial on TikTok or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm the best to give advice on any of this stuff. But that's really cool that you want to go up for a voice actor thing. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. You could get to be like a voice on anime, and I could understand how that would appeal. I don't know how to do that, but if anyone has any tips there for man Cobras Tenchi, do go do that. Sweden. Oh, okay. We're doing so -10 in Sweden, 5 degrees in Indiana, 10 degrees in New York, and 20 degrees here today. It was like, geez, it was like 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 75 something in Fahrenheit here today in Tokyo. It was so nice. It's going to be cold this week, apparently, but -10 in Sweden with snow. You hate snow shoveling. Yeah, I've done that. I used to live in Takao, and I have done a little bit, like 1 day or 2 days of snow shoveling, and it's really, really exhausting. But yeah, I'm impressed that you could all live there. I hope you're all like in saunas dealing with that. South of Sweden's even colder than north. The south is colder than the north. Is that what you mean? That's kind of crazy. Yeah, is there an email address to submit questions for the chat? What I suggest is, if you have questions to submit to me, I'll normally catch them on Twitter. Although, like today, I was sort of jumping around beforehand, so I might not necessarily catch it. I didn't realize that there was such character limitations as well on the comments. I don't know what to do about that, but you can. I would suggest DM me on Twitter, and if you're not connected, to DM me on Twitter or Facebook. Ping me and say, hey, this is Vincent Birch. Want to send you some questions? We can do it that way. Can't guarantee I'll catch it if you send it on the day, though. It is easiest if you put it here in the chat. But I'm pretty good at getting back reasonably promptly to DMs in Twitter and Facebook. So do that. Yoni, everybody's saying, hold on, Yen, don't get too strong yet. Indeed, we've got Ian McCauley. I appreciate you being considerate, showing Celsius for me. That was pretty good. Sweden -20 last week. Holy crap. Softy Papa, that is actually not a bad idea. ChatGPT always gives solid like B+ answers. It won't necessarily be the advice that an expert would give, but it's pretty much good enough, and it's a great place to start. Wow, Miami, you don't even have winter there. I so want to go to Florida. I saw some news, by the way, the other week. Oh, where is this in here? What I did have that I think I haven't had a chance to bring up yet. There's been an announcement that Japan is going to start up a direct flight from Tokyo to Miami. Which is, of course, important for people who want to go to South America because, it's such a hub for Latin American travel. I really want to go to Florida because I want to watch rockets take off, which is going to start happening like crazy next year. And yeah, while I'm not allowed to talk about my current job, I occasionally get to do like some space law stuff. And if I can sort of get to do more of that, I so want to go. There might be some rockets like that I get that I have reasons that I would want to actually specifically watch. Besides the fact I've just always like I wanted to be an astronaut as a kid, and I've always wanted to go to Cape Canaveral, and the Kennedy Space Center. So yeah, I want to be on those flights out there. And hell, if it's 26 degrees there, this is probably like the best time of year. Summer there is probably horrible actually. So that's awesome. Only 200 characters allowed on YouTube. I didn't even realize that. Even colder than up north. That's crazy. Um, anyway, oh sorry, Ian, you're in a Celsius. Well, i.e., not in America, of course. Apologies for that. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. And you know what? Is there anything else here that I said that I get through? What is the title? Ohtani government collapse, Osprey crash, music. You know what? I've covered all of them. Let's talk music. Well, I've been like, I've had kind of an epiphany and kind of a mind blowing kind of a thing today. I haven't been able to prepare well enough to be able to share it with all of you. But bear with me here. Music indeed. I have a strange brain. You may have noticed. I just like sit here and just let stuff flow out, and I do really really enjoy that you keep me company and just let me talk about stuff as it comes to me like this, because I enjoy like processing stuff and sharing my take on it to just get a more holistic understanding of stuff. And I really really enjoy the different perspectives actually of people who join in the chat every week. It's something that we do. We'll get to it. So yes, indeed. Well, kind of DJ time, but not actually DJing, but kind of the story of how I got into DJing and how I got out of it and how I want to get back into it and how I've had a like happen to me today. And actually, no, you will dig this the most, DJ Sunny Side Up. So 1990 in Japan, actually, I was in Fukuoka on a school exchange, and I bought a CDJ. Well, no, sorry, not a CDJ. I got that later on. Jumping into myself, I got a compact disc CD Discman when CDs were brand new. It was before that; it was all cassette decks and stuff. And I think the first CD I ever bought was Benelux. It was a Belgian producer called from a group called Technotronic. And I got this, and it's sort of pop. It's like Euro pop, techno kind of music from that age, dance music. I got that, CNC Music Factory, and Young MC were my first three CDs. But the Technotronic album I love so much. And when I listen to it, because it's all electronic and it's from the early 90s, whatever, there's enough there that's so clear. You can hear all the different parts of the music. And and the music so clear. I've never heard CD quality sound before. I'd spend all night listening to this Technotronic album over and over and over. Yaki K, by the way, yeah, is like a hero of mine. Hey, Atomic Tom, good to see you there. I got into that habit as I started to realize my musical taste is based on various sort of experiences. I lived in mostly Maori towns, which had a lot of reggae and a lot of breakdance music, like the old school hip hop, like before it was really hip hop and it was breakdance and that sort of hip hop. There was a lot of that. And then when I was sort of like 15, 16, I was really into techno and stuff like that. Yeah, I would listen to the music really, really intensely. And when I was walking to school, I had a 40-minute walk to school. I've always had a thing where I can like really vividly generate like the music or images, or I was a TV addict kid, but I could generate like I can see clearly like TV shows. And with music, what I would do is I could hear all the different components of the music, and I could break it all apart: the audio, the beat, the hi hat, the bass, the melody line, whatever. I could break them all apart in my head, and what I would do whenever I was walking as a 15-year-old, which what 19, geez, when was that? Like 1990, 1991 or whatever. I walked to school and I would make mashup tracks in my head. I think I'd be thinking it'd be so cool to take this rap track and put it with this techno track and put this over it. And I would like really clearly, I was basically mixing music in a way that I mean, there were things where, of course, you did have there was a time when there were groups like Mars that would do like these sort of huge sample compilation tracks, but it wasn't so much that. It was like I had this idea. Whenever I listened to music, I listened to it so hard that I could basically then, when I play it back in my head, I'm not listening to the track. I'm listening to the track and how I would mix it and combine it with other sort of tracks and things that I like and how I would change it. And when I'm humming along to it and bobbing my head to it, I'm bobbing my head to the remix that I'm making inside my head. And so I had this thing. I have this with a lot of things. Like when I talk about technology, when I talk about AI, I'm always like demanding the thing that's not here yet. It's like with AI, I want glasses that I can wear when I'm running that show a heads-up display, and I'm not going to buy anything until it can do that. But and I know it's coming, and I want it. And it was the same with this. I wanted to be able to like not just listen to music, but to fully like remix it. And yeah, when I got into music, when I was at university, I sort of I had a bit of a thing where I went clubbing in Europe when I was like backpacking in Spain, and I sort of got back, and I was like, I bought all of this vinyl music in Spain, all this club music, And there was only one record shop in Auckland. Auckland at that time was really into alternative Seattle sound music. Everyone was into Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, all that sort of stuff. And I was into electronic music, which you could get in Australia, but you couldn't really get in New Zealand. There was only one shop in Auckland called Cloth Records where you could get it. I'd go into the shop. And the place smells of weed. One of the guys in that shop was selling weed to the DJs there. But there was one guy, DJ Andy Van, legend, one of the best like competition DJs, like does everything. He sees like 19-year-old lanky awkward me walking in, and he's like, yeah, grab a bunch of music, listen to it, tell me what you like. I'll help you figure out what your taste is, and I'll give you some tips on how to build up. And for me, what I got into it was called drum and bass at that time, but it wasn't drum and bass like drum and bass now. It was actually a subgenre of happy hardcore, which is a type of amen break based kind of cheesy hardcore techno music. But drum and bass was particularly where it was less melodic and there were these break beats and stuff. And I was like, whoa, I need to get this. I was sort of like, and the guy said, the only way you can get this is imported from UK and it only comes in on vinyl. So if you get it, you got to buy it on vinyl. And if you get it on vinyl, you got to get turntables. And while you can buy a cheap turntable, honestly, you're going to end up upgrading up to Technics. In the end, you'll spend less money if you just get the Technics. So I suggest find some Technics, which they didn't sell there, but he suggested going and finding it. So I got my student loan, and I love this music so much. I actually bought all of these records before I could play them on anything. I didn't even have a record player, but I desperately wanted to play them. And I sort of, again, in my head, I was listening to it and I was mixing them in my head already before I had them. So I spent like $10,000 of student loan money. Wasn't 10,000, it was about 7,000, but it was a lot for me at that time in New Zealand, like education money terms. I took my student loan, and much to my father's horror, I spent it all on two Technics turntables and a Newmark mixer. Uh, and I started obsessively practicing how to mix vinyl, which is hard. It's analog, so you use the pressure of your hands and you separate your ears to be able to like hear the components of the music. And to physically manipulate the music to be able to get the beats to match. It's a skill, and it takes a long time. It took me like about 6 months of like practicing every day, and this is what people that you just got to do it every day to be able to really like beat match and be able to listen to music and get right away like intuitively without doing anything what the BPM is, what it mixes with. And I got there. I got there through just all the sort of intense techno and drum and bass, which at that time, drum and bass has gotten very big in New Zealand, but at that time it was nowhere. It was only the shop that you could buy it. There were very few people playing it. And it was because there weren't people playing it and because I was getting into it, and it was really cool. And because I picked a sort of a subgenre that wasn't like the main dark genre that everyone was going to, I got gigs in Auckland, even though I wasn't good at all. I got gigs. I was playing on the radio. I was playing at BFM, the radio station, the university station. I was playing at some club events and stuff because I was playing the sort of jazzy drum and bass. And I got to Japan, and I had a big time when I first got to Japan. And I was going out all the time, and I went to these amazing events, and I talked to the DJs at the events, and we'd sort of figure out if you get a critical mass of DJs who know people who can get into parties or whatever, you can get them together. You can book out a club. The club you have to guarantee, like you have to pay them a certain amount where you have to get break even. You have to get like 150 people to come in. They all have to pay for like 3 drinks or something like that. And if that happens, you get enough that the bar's covered, and you get enough money back that you can pay the DJs, and and you're not broke or out of pocket for the night. But I was really into setting up these parties. So I actually, for a long time in the 90s, I have a collection of about 500 records, and I have these Technics and as well as CDJs, which I used to have behind me on the setup here. And and it was also a thing as well. If I was really into a girl or something like that, I'd always make a mix. I'd burn. I'd actually record into a direct line, like not digitally recording, no computer stuff. I would actually record the audio either onto a mini disc or a CD burner, and I would live record like mixes that I'd do on vinyl to impress girls, like every DJ does. I did mixtapes in New Zealand, of course, the same thing. Which is another way that was just sort of motivating. But I did a lot of parties. I ended up not having, because it's so stressful waiting to break even on the event, which happens like 2 o'clock in the morning, and you got to stay out all night. You got to lug around all this equipment and stuff like that. It's pretty exhausting. And by the time I got to about 30, I thought I didn't have the endurance really to do. I love doing the events and stuff like that. And I love the music, and I love having the music, your own music on really big sound systems. It was really cool. And I was playing really cool music, and drum and bass got really big after I started playing it. But the fact that I was already one of the few people doing it meant I could connect with other DJs who are better than me. And I could actually get doors open that I wouldn't get otherwise. So this was a big part of my life. I was like DJing a lot, like in the early 2000s. And yeah, eventually I didn't have the endurance for it. So as my life settled down, when I started YouTube, my whole idea of what this YouTube channel was going to be. Oh, and the whole time I was doing this, I'm making mixes. I still had in my head, I wanted to do what I did when I was walking to school before I even, when I just had my first CD player, which is I wanted to be able to take music apart and mash it, do mashups, which people now do, but they do a lot of work. It's a lot of effort to go into those sort of mashups. But I wanted to be able to do that easily. So yeah, I always had that image, and you can never quite do it. You can like turn down the bass and turn up the middle, and you can play with the knobs. And nowadays DJs, they just turn the knobs like when it's not doing anything to make it look like they're doing something. They know the music, and they'll like when they know something's going to drop, they'll twist knobs that aren't connected to anything to make it look like they're doing it, but they're not doing it. Most of the time, DJs, that's just performance. It's all pre-programmed, and that's fine. It's fun. I mean, that's part of what the role is anyway, to make it look fun. But yeah, it went through a few phases where the music went from vinyl, which people like me had taken so much effort to learn. I remember when CDJs came out, and they were so easy, you could press a button and it could play. That I remember some DJ friends were getting pissed off at how easy it was for CDJs. But then forget about that. I didn't mind having CDJs and vinyl hooked up together. But then computer software came out where it would auto mix. And now you can even get like great DJ apps that auto mix on your phone. All you have to do is load in a playlist, and it'll automatically beat match and merge and do the whole thing automatically. I've talked about this analogy with AI about how some people thought this is the end of DJing, whereas I pointed out, no, what it does is instead of spending like 90% of your time intensely focused on beat matching and mixing, you get all this time back because the mixing is much easier to do, that you can do all the other things that you always wanted to do, like interact with people or add effects or run a VJ thing, which I used to do. That's what I sort of love about technology in general. And I use the example of DJ technology for this. But anyway, I wanted with this channel, sorry, I know this is going on, but bear with me. It's coming to a point, which I will definitely try to do in the next 3 minutes. I'm not gonna be able to do it in 3 minutes, but I'm gonna be close. The When I started the YouTube channel, my idea was that I would sit here, I would talk in Japanese about news. I'd talk basically, I wanted to do Tokyo Tonight from all the way back in 2008. I wanted to do the Daily Show / Philip DeFranco for Japan. And I thought what I could do is, with my background, I always have my turntables. You look at my old videos, you can see my whole turntable set up beside me. And the original videos I did, I would play tracks that I really liked on vinyl, and I would show like a subscreen, like a corner, which would show the record cover. And my idea was that I could like combine sort of some DJ sets at the same time as I'd talk about news. The problem was I did a video that went viral, and which would be great, but I was working at a law firm as a lawyer, and it suddenly occurred to me, I've got a bunch of videos that have copyrighted music on it, on my channel, and at work there's all sorts of other things, because when you're working as a lawyer at a law firm, you're not supposed to have outside income, because that could see as being interfering with the pureness of your serving your clients. So I wasn't receiving money from that, but I was worried I might get into trouble at work. And I suddenly realized, I started looking really closely at the copyright rules, and it's basically pretty much impossible. It's changed a little bit, but I realized that, you can get into so much trouble like putting like DJ sets onto YouTube. Some people do it, but they get all these copyright strikes and the channels get taken down. And some people don't care about that, but, and they would still do it anyway, or there'd be these channels that would do it. But, normally in my position, I could not do that. That kind of ruined my whole plan for what I wanted this YouTube thing to be. My plan was for this to be me DJing drum and bass music that I liked, and combining that with talking about news. And I had to lose the whole music thing. And that's why I've gone down different paths, where I came back to it years later, where I was making music live and playing it on the show and stuff like that. But really what I've always wanted to do, even when I was making music, I've always like had it in my head that what I really wanted to do is, even now, like, so today when I was running, I was having a conversation with someone the other day about music that, specifically that a person told me that they like Weird Al Yankovic. And it's kind of funny. I've had conversations with people where I've said that I like Weird Al Yankovic, and I've had someone tell me that I'm basically dead to them if I like Weird Al Yankovic. A divisive person, but, personality-wise. And you talk about music and you realize, that person, likes this. When I go out running, I was out running today for over 1 hour, and I was running fast. There's this wonderful thing that happens when I'm running. The way that my brain works, I get into a kind of a state where, when I've got lots of stress, or when I'm preoccupied with something, like something's weighing on the front of my head, what's cool about running is it doesn't fix the problem per se, but all the front of brain stuff switches off. You can't focus on the anxiety or stress or whatever. That all switches to focusing on the fact that, your legs are tired, you're breathing hard, you're running, you're checking where you're going and stuff like that. And you sort of go into this kind of state where your body, like when you get into a rhythm, and this happens also because I listen to drum and bass music. I run in rhythm with the music that I'm listening to, which is primarily drum and bass, but not just. It's got hip hop and other music which has the same BPM that I can still run and keep the same cadence, the same rhythm. So I'm basically dancing when I'm running. And this is what I do. I sort of get into a kind of a trance when I'm running in a way. And when it's really good music that I like, it's something that it means that what happens is when I get comfortable, when my front of brain is just focused on my body, because I'm feeling a bit of pain, I'm breathing hard and whatever, and I'm enjoying the scenery or whatever, and I'm really enjoying the music, and I start bouncing and enjoying, and sometimes I even singing. I ran a half marathon in 1 hour 32 minutes in America, and I was singing most of the way. I was like, there was some great vocal drum and bass tracks, and I was just really motivated because I was passing people and I was feeling really good. So I started singing while I was bouncing and running. But even when I'm doing that, even when I'm listening to the music like this, what I'm doing is I'm mixing the music, and sometimes I'm hearing tracks. So I'm thinking, oh, I was having a conversation about music with someone the other day. I'd love to show them this track. This track is like, it was popping up like, oh, this would be really cool. And then I suddenly remembered I got back into the old DJ mixing thing that I wanted to do mode. It suddenly occurred to me when I was running that, yeah, I'm always listening to music, even now. Like when Beastie Boys comes up after I've been listening to drum and bass, I'm hearing Sure Shot from Beastie Boys, but I'm thinking of Sure Shot being played over drum and bass and how awesome that would be, and why has no one done that before? And I can't, and I know how awesome I can hear that when I'm listening to Sure Shot. I'm listening to it as a drum and bass track, even though it's playing as a hip hop track. And I got into this sort of state where I could do this really clearly and intensely, and it suddenly occurred to me, I was supposed to be all this time, like the technology has now moved on so far where this has become so attainable. I should actually check out what's available, like for, you know, what's the latest little iPad apps and whatever that can do this. And, can I actually finally now do that thing I've always wanted to do, that even when I was DJing, I could never get it, that you could perfectly mash, like pull out a vocal, pull out a stem from one track and another and overlap it and make mashups like on the fly of music that you want to do. So what I did was, after I went running, I've got all my clothes, which I'm not allowed to wash at home. So I have to take it up to a coin laundry. And when I'm at the coin laundry waiting for the coin laundry to go, I get out the iPad, I see that my old DJ app, which I haven't used for like more than 10 years on my iPad, I can upgrade it. And if I pay like $35, I can put in this new neural AI, which AI will take out all of the stems automatically and completely isolate. You're not like just twisting knobs on the bass in the middle and everything. It will say vocal, and it will just take out the vocal really clean. And you can have like it as an acapella, and you can put it on whatever you want, which is what I've dreamed of having all this time. And the interface is so easy to use. It's called just DJay Pro. It's just a simple app made by Algoriddim. So I'm sitting there playing around with it, and I'm wondering how hard is this going to be for me to learn. So while my clothes are spinning, I pick out Sure Shot from the Beastie Boys. And in fact, it wasn't Sure Shot. It was So What You Want. So What You Want. That's the track. I love So What You Want. And then I got the drum and bass track that I was thinking of when I was listening to it earlier in the day. And I put them so the beats were matching, and I turned off all the background on, I turned off the vocal on the drum and bass. So, and I turned down the beats on So What You Want. And all of a sudden, I have the perfect sounding mix of this track that I had in my head that I've never been able to realize before. And it sounded so good. It sounded so good. I actually in the laundromat, apart from the fact my brain was exploding, like as much as it was when I first used ChatGPT, that I can now do this easily. I couldn't help it, because like when I was running, thinking of this earlier today, I was bouncing and running really hard, like, and it was really making me like jump. I had to. I was like standing up. I was just like, oh crap, this is like, oh my God. I started kind of dancing in the laundromat. It was like, it was crazy. And even before the show tonight, I've been doing this. I've been taking sort of tracks and combinations of stuff, and I can do it, and I can do it easily, and it sounds so good. And it's really motivated me strongly that this is what I used to do. I actually used to be primarily, although there's a copyright issue still, I know that people share copyright mixes and so on. So DJ Sunny Side Up, maybe I can get your help with this. What's a good way that I can post if I wanted to like make a really good mix, which I could now do? I could not just mix really good music together, but I could actually mash it up the way I've always wanted to mash up and not been able to achieve with analog equipment. I can now do it. I can do it on my iPad. and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna focus in on this because it's, like, so incredible that you can do this, and I wanna post it online, and I know it's awkward on YouTube, and this was what this whole channel was supposed to be, by the way, but I wanna do this. I could even do this live. I was doing this live just before the show. If I'd figured out how to get the sound connected the way I used to have this, I would actually live mix this. You'd probably catch some mistakes because you gotta align the tracks a little bit and stuff like that, but just what I was doing before the show, I was blowing my own mind with how awesome this stuff was. It might cause copyright triggers as well, so I wanna sort this out. But DJ Sunny Side Up, I need your help of where I can put. I think Beatport, there are some websites that let you put up mixes. I'm gonna make some mixes, like, which I used to do a lot. It used to actually be my main thing, like, before the internet was sort of big. Yeah, I wanna put them up, and, I'll let you all know if you're interested, where to find. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get on top of the technology, but the fact it was so intuitive and easy to use right away, there's a few things I still need to figure out. But I've just had, like, a complete, like, this is one of those things where I've found the glasses that have the AI overlay that I can wear while I'm running, and I've just discovered it was available for a year, and I didn't even think to look at it. Now it's available. So I just had this incredible thing today, and it was just from being so deep in the zone, listening to this music, and suddenly occurring to me, why haven't I, like, even looked for this? Like, I've gotten so out of that mode. I've so stopped being a DJ, thinking myself of myself that way, and out of music. And when I was really thinking hard about this and really, like, feeling really zen, my brain was like lucid dreaming. This is what happens when I'm running. When I get really zen and I can shut off the front of my brain, and I tell the back of my brain what I want to think about, and I let it go when I'm running, and I let my mind wander. And it's kind of funny. Like, my work, I can sort out work. I can sort out. I'm all stressed out what to do next, and my brain will just sort it out. I come home and I know what to do. And like with this as well, I just sort of put in what what should I do with, with music or whatever, and it just, like, it all came together. And when I came back, it's like I started installing apps like that. I don't know. It's like, this is why I love running. It actually, it's a weird kind of, it's a great way. I get something like really vivid, um, sort of not fully. I point out what direction to go, but I let my brain run in that direction, and it comes through for me really well. And it came through today. And when I went and executed on it, so I'm going to incorporate this. I'm going to figure out how to incorporate this into the show, and I'm going to bring the music back. I know the Sergeant Booker, you've been waiting for me to do that, and others, and I'm going to do that. And it's going to be part of this, like, final segment. I need to figure some more things out, but just what I've been playing with right now is so amazing, and I have to share it. I have to share it. So anyway, I really wanted to get that out of my system. Today's just been like a complete revelation for me, and I just got really, really excited about it. So that was my shtick. Eric Bailey, glad that you can make it. Space Law. Nobody can hear your subpoena in Space Law. Oh boy. Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's about to change anyway. So yeah, no problem. The J vlog. We're wrapping up now, but I wanted to share that with people. And yo, very glad that you made it. No one can hear your subpoena in space. That's a good line. That's a good line. I'm. You know what? Well, here's the thing. I work with actual space lawyers, and I'm gonna take that line. If you'll allow me, I'm gonna use that line with actual space lawyers. I will credit it to Eric Bailey on the internet. But there you go. Freestylers, damn, you see, Fatboy Slim is a god to me. There are several people in music that I consider god. Norman Cook. Actually, one of the mixes I just did before this, I mixed up Naughty by Nature beat for Everything's Gonna Be Alright with Caravan of Love by the House Martins, which is Fatboy Slim, Norman Cook, and four other guys. It's a complete a cappella church song over Everything's Gonna Be Alright by and the beat. I mean, again, it's a one. I'm sure there might be like bits of brain coming out of my ears at the moment. It was so good. And DJ Sunny set up. I mean, geez, I know you'll dig it the most. Anyway, hey, snap! My first CD player was a Panasonic as well, and it was good. Yeah, Rick Rubin, best producer, of course. Good point. Good point. Oh yeah, of course. So you're all over this DJ Sunny setup. I knew that you'd appreciate it. Good stuff. Love DMB. DMB is just it's a great genre. It's a great genre because it never got too big, so it was like good enough that it was still cool. It never burned out. The new drum and bass, I'm subscribing to Apple Music drum and bass lists, and it's incredible. The new music that comes out is really good. Like, there's no snobby, like, this new hip hop is like all this mumble rap shit. I hear people complaining about how hip hop's gone in a direction some people don't like, whatever. Drum and bass has just gone from an awesome direction to an unbelievably awesome direction. It just gets better. The events right now for drum and bass as well. What I'd really love to go to a big, like, festival just playing drum and bass music in New Zealand or Europe, which is where the biggest ones are. I'm in UK. Yeah, it's really going through a really good time right now, which again is why I want to set it up. Legit setup. I don't know if you're talking about me and what I had, but I had a legit setup. So anyway, I had all of that. Thumbs. Yes, everybody. Hey, if you like this, please like it. That's all that I do it for. Remember, there's no monetization in this. I literally just do it for the validation that I get through likes. So please like if you like this. I do appreciate it from everybody. I am loving having you all here. How do you like the new format? Do you like the old format better or this format? I would like it. If you could leave me some comments on that, I'd want to get some feedback. I like the setup. It's easy to use and I like the appearance of it. But tell me if you actually prefer if I actually have all the comments on the side. Take my time. I know. I love this story too. Actually, I know this was from a few minutes ago, but I could probably, yeah. Like I said, DJay said he set up. I knew that you'd dig it the most. But damn right, Aaron. In fact, let's just do that. There we go. Now I don't have to keep it on. Yeah, I really had to get this sorted out. Copyright, but not a strike. So that is another approach to this. And I'm not interested in monetizing anyway, as you all know. I just do this for likes, not monetization. So please like. We're up to like I see 10 likes, but I would love to see some more on there. And I'm going to go through to the end. The J vlog. What do you mean you're not allowed to wash your clothes at home? My situation at home is that, well, apart from the fact that Sunday is like washing my son's bed sheets day and all that sort of stuff. Also, yes, family is not happy with me putting my sweaty clothes into the washing machine. I am exiled to going to laundromats with my running gear. I don't think it's that bad at all, but it gives me a chance to go for a walk. And hell, I mean, I didn't think I'd ever be a guy like dancing in a laundromat, but it's another advantage, right? I probably wouldn't have been tolerated at home. Mixed Cloud, good call. Atomic Tom, thank you for that. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking about. Just put an image over it. Oh yeah, I can totally do this. Aaron, amen. You've got it. Like I love not just the fact that I found this thing and it blew my mind, but what it represents overall. And I talk about this a lot. We needed to hear what is going on in the world. That's what I'm here for, man. Man, yeah, I love all you guys. It's great to have you in here. Crypto Area, I'm glad that you could make it into the chat, Crypto Area. Awesome to have you in here. And I don't know where the YOLO came from exactly. Oh, this is dancing in the laundromat. Well, hell yeah. I mean, Jesus, what can you do, right? Today was a good day. Today was a good day, and I felt like I had to share that. And plus, I haven't been reading the news, so I didn't have a choice. But even when I haven't been reading the news, I go 10 minutes over because that is what I do. I hope you've had a good time. Thank you for keeping me company. I appreciate the 13 likes. And even the the 20 people who didn't like, I don't care. It's good. Thank you for keeping me company. As always, we'll get back into the groove with the new stuff next week. I hope you all have a great week. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and all of that good stuff. And boom. Peace. Have a good one, everyone. And I'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone. And take care. Don't catch colds or overheat if you're in Australia. See you later. So ending stream. Ending stream is a different setup now. How do I do this? Okay, end stream. There's a big button at the top of the screen. I'm going to click on this and I'm going to gracefully exit. See you later. Nope, I clicked it once and then another screen comes up. I have to click the second end screen, which now I am doing. Yeah, because it doesn't let me end gracefully. And there you go, Softy Papa as well. You can't wash your beach towel normal. Too much sand. Yeah, I don't have sand. I just have like cooties apparently. We all do. See you later. Boom. Finish.